Yar, me and me ship, the Widowmaker, are on our way to Cortez's treasure. Land ho, Captain. We found it. Ready the longboats, men. Any volunteers to join me? I'll join you, Captain. It would be my honor, Captain. These be shark-infested waters, Captain. Scurvy, you stay with the boat. Stay with the boat, Scurvy. Stay with the boat. I always have to stay with the boat. Just one time, I would like to get the treasure. Yar, there she be. Keep your wits, men. Something just doesn't feel right. This just be too easy. Blasted shark almost took me hand. We have enough pirates with hooks around here. Where be the jewels? Where be the gold? Only thing in here is this ugly looking book. Yar, what we supposed to do with this blasted thing? Ha ha ha. We have been resurrected. I can move again. The captain will be pleased. Yar, har, 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 har. We be awoken something evil. This be unnatural. All of it. Yar, me buckos, run! We must be getting out of here. Leave them, men. We have more important work to be doing. This be unnatural. All of it. Where be the treasure, Captain? There be no treasure, only death. Ready the sails. We best be going. Make haste, me buckos. This here book, it can bring back Cortez and the Inquisition back from the other side. Catu Verata Necto. The captain, he calls us to the ship. My crew of the dead, we have work to do.
Over here.
Guess who's back? Back again. Mikey's back and Mrs. Mikey J. Tell a friend. Here we are with episode 3 of the Brick Chat. And before we go any further, let me just say, if you like this stream or any of my content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Actually, we're going to be here for a little while today. So go and hit, go out there and hit that like on the stream, right now, as soon as you get in there. And we're going to get started here. We have a super exciting show lined up for everyone today. I'm happy to be bringing to you guys, and we have a special guest coming on, and his name is Sir Legolot, and he is a PhD from England, and he is incredibly knowledgeable about all things castles. Like, we were just blown away with the amount of knowledge that this gentleman has. And so we're super happy to have him be our first big interview here on the Brick Chat. And let me just throw this out there. If other people want to come on, we're more than happy. We want to get to know all the members of the Lego community. Let's have fun. Let's talk about all the fun that Lego is, because, Lego is awesome. And do you have anything you'd like to say, honey?
I'm just excited about it because I learned so much, and I'm excited to see the segment.
But not only do we have that lined up for this show, because the castle that he has, it's a Lego ideas set, and we're going to be talking about a lot of Lego ideas and stuff like that. So when we get down to it, so we decided to make this whole episode very castle oriented and castle themed, and so I'm going to be showing, a little bit off of every castle that we have in our collection here today. And we really have some doozies, that, in store. So, we're really actually excited to bring in that. So we have that. And we also have our guest, the Lego minifigure. My man, CT Jason, one of my co-hosts on the iiRcadians, provided this great segment. So you're going to have to stay tuned to the end of the show if you want to guess the minifigure. And let's actually take a look. I'm going to give you guys a little tease of what it's going to look like. So, stay tuned towards the end.
Time for another exciting episode of Guess That Lego Figure, where it's up to you to decide which Lego figure we got for you today. With all the Lego figures out here that we got under one roof, we're going to leave it up to you to decide which one it's going to be. And if you can guess who it is, we will send you a terrific prize.
So, yeah, you got to stay tuned to the end of the program if you want to win the minifigure. And let's see who we have in the chat. We have my other co-host, Rainwater Games, is here. He said I'm actually really excited to see the castle guy. I am leaving in a few minutes, so I might have to catch the part on replay, but it sounds awesome. I understand, man. Thanks for stopping in. And yeah, you're definitely going to want to check that out. And who else we got here? We got Papa Brad. Hello, Mikey and Jen. Hi, Papa Brad. And Lego castles are probably some of the coolest Lego things. They absolutely are. And that's why one of the reasons we wanted to do this particular episode. And so speaking of which, let's just get right down to it and let's take a look at the castles in our collection.
First up, we have the classic Black Monarchs Castle. I just did a review on this on last week's episode, so I'm not going to go super in depth on it. But this is the oldest castle in my collection, and it is one of the original, Lego classic castles back from the 80s. It was actually released in 1988. And it's just a magnificent, classic Lego castle. The drawbridge opens, portcullis comes up, and it actually opens up like this. So it's got cool play features so you can get down inside it, and it's a great, great castle. Here is my blue castle. And this was actually the first castle I got when I got back into Lego, because it came out in 2013. This front gate is something that I added that is separate. Actually, Mrs. MikeyJProductions added that. I better give her the due credit. But the majority of this is just the 2013 castle that I bought a lot of gatehouse raids and made it bigger and just really made it as grandiose as possible. And then the missus later on got down to it and added some additions to it. And here's a little blacksmith shop we got set up in there. And this one is historically accurate because it has the keep in the center. That is important. That's the final place, the final sanctuary in a castle is the keep. And this one does have a functioning portcullis, as you can see here. As I'm taking it up and letting it slam on down. And then it has a drawbridge, it goes up and down with that right there. And like I said, this one's actually the most historically accurate we probably have, because, if they break in, they could get, just hammered down here, like we'll learn about a little bit later.
in the interview that's coming up. But yes, the missus did a good job, and there's actually 4 of these gatehouse raids. That is another thing from the interview, so I figured I'd count them out now, and there is 4. But that is probably the most historically accurate castle in my collection right now. And then over here we have the Red Castle. And this one is essentially just 2 sets that were released around the same time in the mid to late 2000s, I believe. And it was the Knights Jousting set and just the regular Red Castle. And this one, when I combined them together, I was just going for an aesthetic look. But this one is probably the least historically accurate, as you'll find out in the interview, even though it does have a working drawbridge and a working portcullis. And it's got this little secret thing here. You can bust somebody out of jail. Nice fun play feature that was included. And then I just kind of made a little throne for sitting in the center for the king. You see the portcullis does work. So it does have a nice functioning portcullis. And it has a nice drawbridge. But what this keeps this castle from being historically accurate is that people could just come in and just raid it, and all they'd have to do would be break down that gate and the portcullis to get in, where really those should be blocked off, and there should be another gate or door there if you really wanted to get a proper castle. Next up we have Helm's Deep, and of course this is the great Lord of the Rings castle that was released back in the early 2010s. And these round sections here that Lego came up with for this particular set is really cool and really historically accurate. And then as you can see here, I got the front door is closed, keep the bad guys out. And of course it has a center keep, and here's the inside look at the center keep. And that's what's another cool thing about Helm's Deep set, is it does include a keep. As you see the dwarf climbing up the ladder there, Gimli. And I have made some little bit of modifications to this, but we got some more changes yet to come. And then next up we have my Tower of Orthanc mock. Now this, I don't know, it kind of rides the line if I can consider it a castle or not, but for the sake of this video I said why not, and I threw it in here. And we actually took 2 of the Black Gate sets and combined them to make it more like a Mordor type thing. And I'll open up the door here. As you can see, there's a gate here, and there's the other gate over on this side. Opens up like so. Move that stuff out of the way. And we got a couple of other like Lord of the Rings and Hobbit sets that we included in there as well. And then here, of course, is the big grand tower itself in all of its magnificent glory. And here is the inside of it. As I said, I think that's one of the Goblin King set that we kind of combined in with this one, as well as the 2 Black Gates, obviously. And I don't know why there's mushrooms all over the place. I think my little man put those in there. And here's a rat down here because that's the dungeon. There's another mushroom up here. But here's all the different floors with it, and here's another mushroom up here. And then, oh, look, here's another mushroom up here. Oh, I guess there's just mushrooms on every floor of my Tower of Orthanc. But, yeah. So here's my Tower of Orthanc. Next up, we have the Disney Castle, or Cinderella's Castle, as it is known in the Disney circles. And this is a fantastic, majestic set released in the mid-2010s, if memory serves. And it is still available through Lego.com, last I checked, if I believe so. It's definitely been around for a while, but it's definitely a fantastic Lego set that a lot of people really love. And here is the inside of this castle. And since I was calling it a castle, I just want to point out that it's actually kind of more like a palace than a traditional castle, which, that could be an interesting discussion altogether, but you see all the different, levels to it and everything. But yeah, the Disney Castle, or Cinderella's Castle, as it is sometimes referred, is definitely a fantastic and majestic Lego castle. That is for sure. But my number one is one that is still not complete. It is a work in progress here on MikeyJProductions, and that is our custom Hogwarts mock that Mrs. MikeyJProductions is building. And this thing is at least two of all the official sets that were released for the Hogwarts. And you can see we got, Diagon Alley up in front of it. And, this has been the latest thing that she's been working on, is building it up and putting the rock formation underneath it. As you can see, all the different levels and everything. But again, this is not complete. It is very much still a work in progress. And when it is completed, we will do a full-on review or reveal of it. And here is the back of the castle itself. And all these different sets that Lego released, bringing them all together to make this was pretty cool. And here's the Great Hall. As you can see, the rock formation down below. It's still very much a work in progress, as I said. And just for the sake of being able to do this, the missus pulled out all the stops and cleaned it all up and everything. And here is some of the inside views. There's just so many rooms to this thing that, I'm not going to go through them all right now. Just, I'll wait for the full-on reveal when she finally feels it is done. And here's just a kind of a glimpse at the rest of our little Harry Potter, land that we're building here in our Lego world. And here's more of the inside of the castle. And she did incorporate some of the more recent Harry Potter sets. So she, they could do the Chamber of Secrets underneath the Great Hall and everything. So she's very much been getting any and all Harry Potter sets and just keeps on adding and building and making this Hogwarts even bigger and more grandiose than it already is. And, as you can see kind of some of the rooms as we kind of pan on through. I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many rooms are in this thing. It is pretty massive. And again, here's a little bit more view of the back of the castle. And this is definitely Mrs. MikeyJProductions' pride and joy. She's been putting a lot of effort, a lot of hours, a lot of thinking into this thing.
And we're back. Sorry about that. Get that out of there. And we have to do things a little bit differently because the videos were so long, but they're so good. And since if Sir Legolot is here in the chat, there's a couple of questions that I didn't ask him in the interview that I very much would love answers for on an upcoming episode. And that is the difference between a palace and a castle. I think that could be a fantastic discussion. And another thing that I would be interested in is, I showed my Tower of Orthanc there. And like I was talking to her while the video was playing, and I said, I think it could be considered a castle and it's just got a very large keep. The keep is a giant tower, but with everything I have around it, could that be qualified as a castle?
So what are the classifications that make a castle a castle?
Well, and that's why, let's just get right down to brass tacks and get down to...
We got a lot of questions answered in this segment.
So let's go. I'm going to start this interview by introducing Sir Legolot. How are you today, sir?
I am very good. I'm enjoying all the wonderful support that I've been getting from the sort of the Lego Ideas community and the Lego Castle community. And I've been enjoying sort of new elements of the building project that I'm on, which is wonderful.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Name, location, background, anything you're wanting to share.
I guess so. I live in England, and I have family all over the British Isles, and I think there was this feedback loop when I was little of watching sort of old movies that my parents liked that had castles and knights and things in them, and then getting into castles myself, and then being brought to see castles in real life. So I grew up regularly visiting like the Tower of London and Windsor Castle. I think I was up at Castle Urquhart in Scotland most recently when I was seeing my uncle. And for people who aren't Brits, part of this is because the British Isles is just incredibly fortified. So it was, if you watch Braveheart, that's a good snap. It's very inaccurate, but it's a good snapshot of a lot of British history, which is it's hard to keep the kingdom unified, and it's hard to stop foreign invaders from doing that. So maybe a contrast to that is that movie Ironclad, which again it's telling basically that there's the same narrative from a different perspective, which is that this is something that it's hard to unify because of the complexity of the geography and the complexity of the ancient kingdoms, the ancient Saxon kingdoms that merged to create England. So you're always going to have these funny splinter groups, and you're always going to have the possibility that those splinter groups are going to bring in, the Burgundians or the French or the Vikings or whoever. And how do you deal with that? Well, you build this wonderful big fortified house that you can live in, and not everyone needs to live in the castle for it to keep everyone safe, because if your army of invaders want to ransack the local village or the local monastery, well, and you don't first attack my castle, what's going to happen is that your back is going to be turned to us, and my knights will ride out, and you will have some real trouble then. So if you want to do those lightning raids that that they did back at Lindisfarne, you have to make sure you're doing it in an area that's not castellated. And even more than that, we can sort of extend the concept of castles and build whole fortified towns. So I was lucky to spend a lot of my life in York, which is, let me try and grab you a photo. York is a town. It used to be the Viking capital of England. So it's literally, it's like Minas Tirith in a sense, in that the whole city is fortified. So I'm just getting small pictures of the walls, York City walls.
It's no wonder that like Tolkien and others, they created such things when you have such inspiration all around you.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So okay, I can find diagrams from the Middle Ages which sort of don't show you how calculated it is. Wait, let me screen share. This is a diagram of the city. So if you've seen the movie Braveheart, at one point he attacks the city of York. So this was the Viking capital. It was sort of the heart of of Yorkshire and of the north of England. And to fortify it, they essentially built a castle wall all the way around the city. And this diagram sort of doesn't express how grand and beautiful that is. So
yeah,
if you look at pictures of the town, you can see sites like this. It's wonderful to walk around. So
that's gorgeous.
You can just walk along these walls all the way around the town. Yeah, it's beautiful. And so this photo doesn't quite show what they look from the outside. So they're on these big slopes of earth. So on the inside, maybe that's like a meter off the ground, but maybe on the outside, that's 2 or 3 meters off the ground. So if you're an attacker, you first have to run up maybe 3 meters of sloped earth, then you have to scale 3 meters of wall, and then you have someone with a spear making trouble for you, poking it through your face, or dropping rocks on you, and or shooting arrows at you, or trying to push your ladder away, and that's really scary. And you might think as an attacker, okay, I don't want to go the ladder's route. Well, actually, a siege tower is going to be hard at York's walls as well, because you have this huge slope of earth before you meet the city walls. Your siege tower is going to want to roll backwards. So you're in this really hard situation if you, like William Wallace, want to take the medieval city of York. Let me get you a few other nice photos.
I mean, that's pretty. It's pretty clever.
It's very thought out and meticulous and ingenious.
Well, I mean, that was their combat for the time,
right?
And so they knew what worked and what didn't work.
That's exactly true. So the thinking, I think, well, I mean, essentially, if you think that someone is going to die, you're going to die, or your children are going to die, or your grandchildren are going to die, if your castle isn't castle-y enough,
right?
You're going to make something that has this wonderful sort of defensive wisdom built into it, and works in all of these strange ways. And because castles, they're sort of like lions in that they're not built to be aesthetic, but they're built to have this function, this brutal function to them. But because of that, I think, directedness, they pick up a strange aesthetic of their own, and that's, I think, part of what I find enchanting. So
absolutely,
this gatehouse, I think, was one of the ones near I live. So they've changed it a little bit so that you can drive your car underneath it. But there's no portcullis as there. If you read Chrétien de Troyes, there's this wonderful. I don't know if wonderful is too bright a word for something so violent. There's this section where someone's horse gets chopped in half by a portcullis, which is Chrétien is writing in the 11th century for 11th century people who do these kinds of things. Well, actually, for the wives of people who do these kinds of things. So, in general, think if something happens in Chrétien, it's at least something that's plausible enough for people to suspect, for people who live with portcullises and live with horses to suspend their disbelief about. So, thankfully, in the city of York, they pretty much never do that to the people who drive their cars underneath there. But it's wonderful. Let's get a couple more gatehouses. So York, so you can see there's this interesting sort of commonality in form between various gatehouses, but also this interesting plurality. So in the same way that you might think big cats and jaguars and cheetahs all roughly do the same thing, but they're all adapted in interesting and different ways. You can see that in the sort of the grammar of castles. So this is one from the other side of town. Honestly, it looks kind of funny. So it's almost like a dog with a big outstretched snout. This is such a powerful defensive feature. So this door is much newer, but the idea here is if the easiest part of your house to break through is your door. Like very few people go to your house and say, I'm going to break in, I'm going to smash your brick wall. They say, I'm going to kick down your door. So, what can you do about that? Well, you can build a series of doors with a corridor going through them. And then you can make that corridor a place where you can drop rocks and shoot arrows and do every kind of unpleasant thing to these people who are trying to get in. And
I never thought about that.
Yeah, it leads to this really it's really interesting aesthetic. That's a perfect view of Windsor Castle.
There we go.
So this is I grew up in London, so this would have been the castle that I visited most commonly. So as a child, when I was playing with Lego and playing with like Monarchs Castle and so on, this is the kind of thing that I was looking at in the real world and thinking, this is sort of what I want to build.
Yeah.
Or have in a set. It was a really big place in the Victorian times. So there's lots and lots and lots of really lovely Victorian architecture, but I don't know, it's just there's also a lot of open space there and like green places, and it's very, very hilly. Have you guys seen the Hayao Miyazaki movie Castle in the Sky?
Oh, yes.
So
Yes.
that's based on where we live.
Really?
So before I moved here, Hannah's parents live here. Every time we watched that movie together, I would joke, ha 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 ha, that's where you grew up. So the bit at the beginning where the miners live, and there's all these wonderful kind of Victorian-esque houses and railways and canals and this like complicated undulating landscape underneath them. That's where we live.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And it in the modern day. So obviously in Miyazaki, he's sort of what's the word? He's compressed all of the beauty into like a more compact form. But there really is stuff like most of that, like within 10 or 20 minutes walk of our houses. So like, you know, buildings that used to be parts of mines and like vast swathes of green open countryside that's sort of broken by, you know, romantic half disheveled and towers, and you know, the railways I guess are not as pretty as Miyazaki's ones, but but the canal near us is lovely. I'm just trying to think, what are the other castles that I wanted to talk about today? So Bodium Castle.
Before you get off of that one, I love the walkway, the drawbridge on it. That's beautiful.
Yeah, Bodium Castle is something else. So this is one that I never went to as a child, but my mum and dad bought me this lovely book of castles, and so it was, I'm not sure what the right word for it is, like a picture book but for grown-ups. So it has tons and tons of photos, but then like useful descriptions of stuff and diagrams. So I grew up with lots and lots of diagrams of different ways portcullises could work or drawbridges could work, and you know, here's how you set out your towers so that you maximize you know, their killing potential and all of that kind of beautiful stuff. So what is the one that everyone loves in Wales?
Well, I think it was the last time I checked, I want to say the whole United Kingdom is like roughly about the size of the state that we live in. And how many castles are there over there for that size of an area?
I wonder if it's the most castellated place in the world. Like, I could genuinely believe, oh, this is near where my parents live now. That's maybe a half an hour walk from my parents' house since they've moved out to London.
Castles everywhere.
Yeah, so it's essentially, if you want to be able to control a landscape and you live before the age of cannons, you need a castle. Like, this is the only way you can do it. And like, England had a rough hand from like maybe before the time of King Henry VIII. So it was very easy for the Vikings to sail by and do their raids. It was very, very easy for the goodness, who are the people that come from the south to raid us? I forgot. The Barbary slave trade. It's really easy for the Irish to do that when they were still doing that as well. And that came from the fact that England had this, you know, big sea around it, and that you could sail your boat across the sea, and then you could do your raid and quickly get away. And castles are a way of stopping that from happening. But then, of course, King Henry VIII sort of changes everything, and you have the sort of boat cannons and the development of naval power, and then soon Britain becomes this new kind of empire that exists via the sea rather than via the land. And you know, that's got lots of interesting things about it as well. So how did you meet each other? Were you both into Lego? Did one of you get the other one into Lego?
No, well, yes. I was a big Lego fan as a kid, and I actually, as I became a teenager, my stepmom at the time sold off my rather massive Pirates and Castle collection in a garage sale. And it was a devastating blow for me. I mean, I had Imperial Trading Post, I had classic Forestman sets. You know, I had the Skull Eye Schooner. You know, I had some good, you know, quality sets that were given away for pennies. And so that always, you know, just rubbed me the wrong way. And then after we got married, or no, it was before we got married, our daughter, she was getting into Lego a bit here and there, and she got it. She was a big Harry Potter fan, and so we bought her some Harry Potter sets. And the very first one that we got for her, I ended up craggling because I didn't want her to lose any pieces on it. And
You might not know what craggle.
Yeah.
Does he know
I'm
what
sure he knows what
craggle
craggling means.
I've seen the Lego movie. Like,
And so
separate note, I think the Lego movie is maybe the smartest movie from my lifetime.
and so then what started happening is it was the Back to the Future DeLorean Kuso set at the time, because it was Lego Kuso still. And I saw that as a huge Back to the Future fan, and I said, I gotta buy that just because I want it. And so I bought that, and then it was like the next year, the Ghostbusters Ecto 1 came out, and it was the same thing. I was just like, I gotta have that as well. And that started just igniting my interest. And then for me personally, it was like, all right, well, now I'm buying Lego sets. I want to go get as many that I had as a kid that I possibly can. I want to reclaim the collection that I lost. And so that's why you see so much Pirates and Castle stuff, because that's what I loved, you know.
I really get that. So my mum and dad, when I was at university, just gave it all to Oxfam. And similarly, it had some of those top tier old sets. So I had the Spirius Monorail. That was maybe the biggest one. And what's the Black Knight's Castle on the raised faceplate?
I think it's called Black Knight's Castle. Or
Black Knight's Castle. Yeah, that one. Like, that's such a good model, and it is no more. So Harlot Castle. This is one of the castles that just everyone talks about. If you Google gatehouses or look in books at diagrams of gatehouses, normally they are diagrams of Harlot's gatehouse, because it's so beautiful, but B, it's so good. So you have this little outer gate here. Then you have, now, if I'm trying to remember, does the outer gate have the drawbridge? I think the outer gate has a drawbridge. Then you get across the outer gate, and then the inner gate has big doors, and then 3 portcullises. So that means that. So let's imagine that you have a battering ram, and you got across the drawbridge, and you batter through the first portcullis. Okay, now you're in a space where you're surrounded by arrows being shot at you, and you actually the only freedom that you've gained by breaking through the first portcullis is to have the freedom to assault the second one. And your life is very, very short if you remain in that space for any real length of time. So it's not necessarily the kind of thing that you're going to want to do. And part of the way a castle functions is to create this terror of the assault. So you look at this place that's full of arrow slots and full of people dropping rocks that you need to carry your battering ram through, and you say, you know what? I don't feel like it.
I don't think I'll take that.
as your whole job. This is why I hired you guys, from Brickandie or wherever. And like, you think about it and you think, you know what, I'm not going to get any money if I walk away from this, but I'm definitely going to die if I assault that second portcullis. So maybe you think about it for a while and you go away, or you end up trying to starve them out. So Harlot Castle has a wonderful feature for that as well. So Harlot is right by the coast of Wales, and you can't see it in this diagram, but it's built on this huge mountainous, craggy, cliffy rock, kind of like the old Lego Dragon Master sets.
Oh, yeah.
And it has an entrance that comes from the sea. So if you besiege Harlot by land, you build a palisade of spiky wooden logs all around the castle, so no one can get in and out, and you make sure that all of the food in your camp is safe, so no one can steal it. The people from the castle can go out and fish, and have fishing boats come to them indefinitely, and you will not be able to starve them out. So you need to somehow get around the back and have a warship as well to stop fishing. But if you once we get to that level of effort, it becomes something that you probably don't want to do. So if you're thinking about raiding that part of Wales, maybe you think, okay, I'm just going to go south. I'm going to raid some other part of the coast. Right. You just look away and you think, you know what, I'm happy with those people living in that castle for now. I'm gonna take my warring somewhere.
Yeah. So speaking of this particular castle, has it been successfully conquered throughout history?
Oh, Harlot. I don't actually know, but I'm gonna go. My guess is no. I would put my money on no. So it's for the time that it was built. I can't think of any times that patch of land changed hands after that. So yeah, I think literally, Harlot Castle 1, everyone else 0.
So it's definitely could be considered in rarefied air as a possibly unconquered castle in its time. I mean, I'm sure once gunpowder and stuff came along, that was
gunpowder changes everything. Or actually, I mean, so there's some complexity to that. So gunpowder weapons sort of come into Europe in maybe the 10th, 11th century, and they're sort of fun because you point them and they go bang, and occasionally someone dies. So cannons got started back then, but they were a real pain in the butt. So they're big, they're heavy. Sometimes they blow up and kill all of your people. Sometimes they're hard to transport. So castles sort of do very well with that for a long time, and it's only really when cannons get to sort of what you imagine on your pirate ship, once they get to that level of sophistication, that castles basically, I mean, they sort of give in the torch, but then they have a resurgence in the form of something called a Martello Tower, which we can come on to later if you guys are interested. And then they get like another maybe 200 years like that.
Wow. So let's move into, how long have you been into Lego?
So I'm trying to remember my first Lego set. So I think Duplo before Lego, and maybe essentially from the cradle. So my best friend when we were little was massively into Lego too. So we would have we would just go to each other's houses and build things, and we had this wonderful shared childhood where we shared sort of imaginative landscape where we would be working on these things. He preferred city and I preferred castle and space, but he would have a Lego man that would represent me at his house, and I would have a Lego man that represented him at my house, and it was just wonderful. I went through my dark age, so
Which I was just going to ask you about that. So you did have one.
I did have a dark age. So I mean, I think that, so there are times in life when you have to focus on other things. So through my teenage years, I had a wonderful time playing in rock bands, and then sort of going off to university to do fun stuff. And because of that, because of the sort of the draw of my time, that meant that I couldn't build these sort of imaginative things anymore. But what I found was that sort of all of the time spent playing with Lego sort of then became the foundation for every other creative work. Because if you are someone who builds a spaceship, or who builds a house or a car or whatever out of Lego, you're already thinking in terms of proportion. You're already thinking in terms of, oh, I want that bit, and I also want that bit, but how can I possibly combine them into a whole? And anything else that you do creatively is essentially that. So writing songs is often a case of, I like this melody, I like this riff, how do I fit them together? Is it possible? And then, so I spent some time as a scientist, and have sort of ended up in computers after that. And again, a lot of scientific theory is you have like X understanding of how something works, and you have Y understanding of how something works. And we can prove X and Y to some great degree of certainty, but how on earth do you fit X and Y together? How do these competing sort of conceptualizations in nature join together, like those little Lego models you played with? And during my PhD, when I got stressed, I thought, you know what, Lego was something that always took my mind off things. So I went on Bricklink, bought some bricks, and built a spaceship that I had when I was a teenager, one that I was really, really proud of, and then slowly rebuilt my Lego collection from there.
Yep, that's how it goes.
That's how it happens.
and then before long, you end up with something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to persuade my wife if we want a Lego room in the house. She says that if my Lego castle gets made on ideas, then we'll do it. But we'd probably need a bigger house at that stage. So we shall see.
So that leads me to my next question: does your wife enjoy Lego?
Yes. So back when I was stressed and that first Lego spaceship was a thing, we also built one for her, and like we spent ages like and shooting each other with not flick fire missiles. But I shouldn't actually ever say that you shoot people with the Lego shooter, because they say so clearly.
They don't.
Take some time.
So people at home, don't do that. We may or may not have shot each other with spring-loaded shooters.
Yeah, I can only speak over here, but in America, the cannons, they came as non-shooting cannons, because you folks over there in England and whatnot were taking each other's eye out with them, and so actual cannons that function or something that over here in America didn't come for a little bit later.
Whoa, I did not know that.
Yeah, I have some of the. Actually, I might have one over there. There's in my Rock Island refuge. It has it right on it. You can see that there's.
Is it that one?
Yeah. See, there's no. You can't pull it out.
Oh, yeah.
And
You can't
it's got a little symbol on top of it. So it's easy and recognizable from the ones that do shoot.
Oh
So far
wow!
away.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I've seen cannons with that symbol, and I never guessed that was what it meant.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another one too. That
Yeah,
one's closer.
That one a shooting one, or?
My guess is no.
Oh, See, that one goes to Rock Island Refuge as well. Georgie moved it. How many Lego idea sets have you submitted thus far?
One.
Oh,
I feel like that's been a silly move on my part. So I like to think of myself as a measure twice, cut once person. So I put a huge amount of thought into the modular castle that's up there now. But honestly, I do have a big pile of ideas that when I'm happier with sort of the speed that votes come in, because you have to get it in during the 2 years, then I will maybe put up and direct some attention to. So so like there's and we can talk about this when I show you guys some stuff on Flickr later. Like because of the way that the castle is designed. So again, coming back to this concept of a castle as a functional building, castles have a sort of grammar to them in that there are specific ways that you build a wall or specific ways that you build a gatehouse. And your landscape for every different castle is going to be completely different. So the negotiation between the castle and the landscape is going to be completely unique. And the castle that you get is going to be as unique as maybe a line of Shakespeare's poetry. But at the same time, it's going to follow these sort of grammatical rules. So I spent a long time trying to figure out how can you build essentially walls and towers out of Lego that give you roughly all of the functionality that physical castle walls do. So, they can bend and give you corners, they can separate in the same place that they bend, and you can attach towers, and you can attach gatehouses and sort of build towers into gatehouses, or even build towers on top of things, and then also put together keeps. And that sort of was the heart of it. But it meant that once I had the initial ideas project, I actually had a fairly unlimited number of things that I could do. So I guess actually this is maybe a nice time to look.
Yeah. Can you bring up your castle?
There it is. Okay.
this little princess who's flying around on top of her griffin.
I loved that bird. That was like my favorite.
So for a long time, I was planning on having a dragon with the castle, and then this dragon came out with the Lego Falcon's Castle, and Lego produced a ton of dragons, and I thought, what haven't they done? And like Griffin seemed like an obvious choice, and I was really happy with what came out. It certainly was a lot nicer, a lot quicker than I expected it to be. If this doesn't get made, I'm definitely going to go to Bricklink and getting all of the parts and putting one of these together, because they are so cute.
How many pieces is it?
The Griffin is...
Oh, no, the whole thing.
Oh, the whole thing. It's a bit... It's just under 3K when you include all of the limbs of the minifigures.
That's not like too terrible. Yeah.
So it's big. The piece count, I could have made it less. I could have sort of delivered the same level of castliness with a lower piece count if we had used less ornamentation. So I think part of what's fun about this castle is that you have this huge network of crossbow slots, and again, that's a real thing that castles had in real life, is these wonderful geometric patterns that in their own way are kind of beautiful, but are designed exactly so that you can shoot people through.
Defend your castle.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I noticed about yours, was that, and I thought that was a quite ingenious addition, and it actually adds a lot of character to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I really like it. So I think if you get rid of all of the fancy stuff, you could maybe redesign a minimal version of this with maybe like 1,500-ish bricks, but I liked the grandeur and the character and the sort of the spice that that sort of real life visual style gave to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like you included Viking raiders in this one, which is
Yeah.
interesting. Historically accurate, you know.
Yeah,
I like that.
Well, so I mean, I'm imagining that this castle is in the time of King Henry VIII, so he was not having a lot of problems with Vikings. Vikings, I think, were done about 500 years before that. But at the same time, like I really like Vikings as a storytelling device, because you know that the actual Scandinavians in King Henry VIII's time essentially wore the same clothes as King Henry VIII did. So if you have Scandinavian traders at that time, there's no visual distinction to them. But with Vikings, like they're very recognizable. And of course, you know, they have these horned helmets that are introduced really by Wagner rather than anything that's historically real. But you look at them and you can instantly see them as a distinct faction that have personalities within it, and they also have this wonderful ambiguity to them. So are these Vikings coming to attack the land? Are they attacking the castle? Are they going past the castle to, you know, burn Lindisfarne again? Or are they, in fact, so in this photo we have them delivering what seems to be a barrel of wine or something. Are they traders that have come from overseas to sort of do something? And also, you like, there's, by creating the right minifigures, I thought that you could create so much potential for sort of storytelling fun. And so something that was very important to me was having like a big mix of male and female characters. So, you know, you could have that opportunity that maybe the two sides are at war, but there's this Romeo and Juliet love story between two of the characters, or you know, I don't know. So or you know, they can be friends, and maybe one of them is a traitor, or there's just so much there, and I think
infinite possibilities.
Yeah, and I think Vikings, or for that, are better than most other sort of enemies. So if I created an evil wizard with red eyes and lots of skeletons, they could never be friends.
Right.
But having these Vikings who can be, you know, maybe they've just come back from doing all these wonderful things in the defense of ancient Byzantium, or maybe they've, you know, maybe they're just trying to look for gold that they can get. Who knows? You know, you as a child can decide yourself, and even decide differently every day of the week.
Yeah. Every hour.
This next question is going to be pretty obvious, but you know, I'm assuming castle is your favorite Lego theme.
It's either castle or space, if I'm honest. So they're both lovely in different ways. So as a child, I was generally torn between them, but my thinking was generally that space travel was the future, whereas castles were the past. So it was a better thing to try and learn to become a scientist and you know, maths and all of that kind of stuff, than it was to sort of live your life you know, focused on castles, because you know, this is probably not coming back. At the same time, though, I think there's a lot of interesting things that you I know you pick up from that kind of thinking. So like reading people like I mentioned Chrétien earlier. So reading people who lived 1,000 or 1,500 years ago, who are writing about everyday lives, or even writing adventure stories, you get a really deep perspective onto the way that cultures change, but also the way that some things stay the same. Like one of my favorite things about some of the medieval authors is that they sort of write Simpsons-esque stuff. So
Gotcha.
so my favorite story in the sort of the AFOL cycles is about Yvain, who's this sort of, he's almost like Homer Simpson, if that makes sense, in that he's clearly well intentioned, and unlike Homer Simpson, he's also a super duper competent warrior, and he defeats people and all of that, but he's just an idiot. So literally every situation in his book, maybe save, no, I think literally every situation where he is offered a choice, he does the stupid thing. And he only really succeeds in life because this servant girl takes a liking to him, and she keeps telling him, look, here is a way of getting through this situation that's not going to make it worse, and periodically smoothing things over with the other people that he meets. And like, that's it's amazing to think of people 1,000 years ago, or heading for 1,000 years ago, laughing at the same kind of comedy that we do, and I don't know, seeing the same kind of silly things as funny.
That's interesting. Absolutely.
I know another man whose wife or woman helps him take the right choices instead. Yeah. You're not like Homer.
Don't.
So because of this modularity, basically, so traditionally with a Lego castle, you know, they're a square, and when you open them out, you get a modified like C shape with some dimples in it, because all of the corners are sort of built into the castle. So my modular system basically means that you can have all of your corners at any angle, and every section of wall and every tower can be disattached from the guys next to it and reattached somewhere else. So this, you know, folds out into that, but you can also have all of this fun. So this is different keeps getting put together, and then the little griffin.
I like that little tower.
And so all of these could be sort of the heart of your castle, and all of these could be the thing that you build your walls around and you protect, but they all have a completely different flavor to them. And whilst it's a different flavor, it's also a sort of maybe historically plausible flavor. So all of these are things that you'll see in one period or another.
The historical aspects of Lego, I wish they would get back a little bit more to that. I love it.
Oh, that's neat.
100%. So this is just a diagram of how all of these is what I call hinged connectors work. So it's some clever combination of existing Lego pieces that allows you to bend and connect. And here, so this is quite a simple version of the castle, but it illustrates that you can create these lovely curved walls.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was lovely when we had it on the what's the Lord of the Rings set? It's
Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep, yes. Like that's such a great model. But again, like this is a real thing and a really cool thing. So one of the castles that I loved as a child was Windsor Castle. So let me find that. Okay. So if you look into the heart of Windsor Castle, inside all of the other towers, you have this lovely, gigantic circular wall with this key built into it. And it's like, this section is so cleverly designed. Like, it's got this hillock underneath it. In some ways, it's a little bit reminiscent of King's Mountain Fortress, if you're super into your Lego.
Yeah.
But part of what was important to me about my Lego set was that you could produce things like Windsor Castle. So just, sorry. Oh, I guess this is a nice thing to jump to. So this basically illustrates that you can take 2 copies of the ideas set and slam them together, and you instantly have twice as much castle, or a twice as big castle. And that's something that traditionally Lego sets haven't really done. So the old grey castles you could combine and make really beautiful things out of. But you know, if you get 2 Black Knights castles and stick them next to each other, you just have 2 castles that are next door. You don't have a ginormous castle. And so this is showing more variations, which are all very cool. And a little drawbridge that I designed. And, you know, if you get 2 of them, you can do this aerial joust. It's probably a little bit annoying. It flicks so fast. So because of all that, we have because of taking all of the time to build the what I think of as being the grammar of the castle, and also trying to make it so that each of the individual sections had enough elegance on its own that you could. I mean, this is sort of the thing. So if you build a big thing out of Lego bricks, it inherits the property of being Lego. If you take lots of small pieces of iron and forge them together, it inherits the property of being iron. It's not true that if you take lots of beautiful things and you mix them together, you have a larger beautiful thing. But my intuition was, if I made each individual section beautiful in its own right, then it would give people the capacity to do much more with it. So that's obviously the castle that you've just seen on ideas. This is Balmoral in Scotland, which is a real castle, and it's absolutely lovely. And I was thinking about, so this is an interesting fusion of sort of German romanticism and Scottishness, which is very beautiful. So this castle sort of came out of me playing with the Ideas Castle and concepts in sort of the designs of Scottish castles. So in Scotland, everything is cold, everything is wet. So if we go over to this picture of Castle Urquhart, you just need roofs everywhere because you don't want to just be damp all the time. So you have these mixtures of walls and roofs and chimneys everywhere. So playing around with Urquhart and Balmoral, I ended up with this, and it's very much the same thing. So you're sort of extending the Lego Ideas Castle by adding a couple of roofs, adding some rocks underneath them, and not really doing anything more. And you instantly have this castle that's very different. So initially that came from me playing around with this old Lego prototype and seeing, look, how could we reinterpret its figures in a more modern way? These are sketches of different things that I built for the castle, on Batlord and his wonderful dragon. Oh, so that I also worked on the idea of having bunk beds in the castle. So, a really real thing about castles is that some parts of them are very spacious, some parts of them are very cramped. And if you want to have lots of people there, lots of soldiers there, or people sheltering there during a siege, you need bunk beds. You need some way of getting people in tight and sleeping in a way that they're close to each other. So I really liked making this sort of very minimal bunk bed build as some of the castle furniture. The version of the castle that I made before, the one that you've just seen, was this sort of Batlord's castle. So again, it's using the sort of the grammar of the castle that I had developed with the modular castle, and essentially adding some roof pieces in red and some bats, but it's not really doing anything that the base castle isn't. And sort of what I wanted to illustrate was that this castle isn't just fun in the way that I think most Lego castles are. So I think a lot of Lego, and yeah, a lot of Lego castles have or certainly modern Lego castles have the tendency to become display pieces. So you build them, and then they're built, and maybe you arrange them, and maybe you play them, and you play with them, and you move them around. But I think part of what I wanted to do was to use this modularity to draw the person in. So you might build the castle, but realize that you kind of wanted the roof in red, and actually it's very, very trivial to swap all of the reds and the blues, and it's very trivial to build a little piece of rock that it sits on. And by doing these sort of minimal actions, you can quickly build something that looks completely unique. And sort of more than that, you can also do what I did with the Scottish castle and build your own modules that you add to it. So coming back to the Scottish castle, so this, and again, this the modules that I'm adding in the Scottish castle are very simple. So a slightly different kind of tower, and then because you already have so much freedom in the sort of the language of the castle itself, it's very easy to make some basic changes and get this disproportionately nice result. And thinking back to my Lego childhood, part of the heart of why Lego for me was so much fun, I think, was that I was doing it with other people. So you had, someone could half make a model and then you could help, or you could half make a model and have the experience of someone else helping. And if you're in that situation, you never run out of ideas. And part of what I wanted to do if this Lego castle was made was sort of be that friend for other people who are playing with castles, and give them this castle that you could very easily use to become half of the project that you want. So another one that sort of I did to demonstrate this castle as a very different build was this sort of Red Lion Knight's castle. So
that one there, that's wonderful.
Oh, thank you. So it's literally it's the same module as, I think I'm adding even less to it this time than I was in the Fright Knight's castle. Obviously there's houses and there's crops in the field, but
I love that.
I love the corn.
Yeah.
I've never seen corn like that. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
we have a ton of those things. I could make a cornfield.
I mean, it's a beautiful scene that you set up. I mean, that's one of the things that I love the most about the Lego hobby. We all have our different things that we enjoy. Like, I mean, I'm just going to go on a limb and say you enjoy building and creating. That's your baby.
Yeah.
Where me, I'm a world builder. I like putting them all together, all the sets, and creating a landscape where it looks like it's alive.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. That's such a cool thing to do. So yeah, so
There
this
it
is.
Oh wow.
So you have this sort of river running across it, and like connections between old stone towers and bridge and trees and all of that kind of stuff. But part of what was exciting to me about doing Forestmen stuff was the idea that if you have like if you have a castle in a forest, you probably also have a story behind it. And if you have Robin Hood's men in a castle in the forest, you have a story behind that. So I thought a nice idea would be to have this old, partially destroyed and burnt out keep with its half flattened walls that's being refortified. And so like
with
these
wood too, I love how you do that, how it's fortified with wood now, because it makes it so much more believable, honestly, because they would have that at their disposal.
Exactly.
Quick, get it up quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a real thing, is that for a long time, for much longer than people realize, people were making wooden forts. I'm just struggling to find.
We have a wooden fort here in Michigan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, of course. I forgot that Americans did that as well. Yeah. And so, like, we have this nice little shot. I was really proud of this, of the two Lego men helping put the palisade in the ground. Yeah, I was so happy with this. And so at some point in the future, I would like to work out which of the sort of spin-out castle projects people prefer. And then stick something on Lego ideas from one of them. Because, again, like, part of the fun of the old Grey Castle sets is that, you know, they're all different castles and you can all combine them in different ways. And you can choose to have 2 of one and 1 of the other, or, you know, 3 or whatever. And I would love to give people those kinds of choices again.
I agree completely, and it's, you know, it's something that's very near and dear to my heart is Lego castles. I mean, it's always been my personal second favorite theme behind Pirates. Pirates is number 1 for me, but Castle has always been number 2, and it's always, I've always felt it's unfortunate how, you know, since Star Wars and the superhero stuff has come along, these classic historic, you know, Lego themes have been fewer and further between. And I understand that, I'm sure, you know, just the average kid that's, you know, 11-year-old kid that wants a Lego set, they're probably going to go for Star Wars or Marvel over a castle set. But what's interesting is I was reading on a Eurobricks forum just recently how all the top Lego designers and stuff, you know, a lot of them, what they build in their spare time for fun is castles.
Yeah. I mean,
so even though they're the ones that design the modular buildings and stuff, when they're having fun, they're building castles.
I can really believe that castles are something special. So this is just a tangent. So I mentioned earlier that there was a way that sort of castles reemerged in the age of cannons and pirates, and this is what they emerged as. So this is a Martello Tower. I don't think I have anything on my desk that looks like the parts of it, but you essentially, you know how the parts of a bridge fit together, so that when you push down on one, it pushes all of the parts of the bridge together with each other. So that's the genius of a Martello Tower. So you can shoot it with cannons all day, and it's not going anywhere. And you can stick these on the rocks near your ports, and then, you know, the French, Napoleon, the pirates, they're all going to have real trouble because you can shoot them with cannons all day, and your tower is going to be fine no matter what they throw at you. But their wooden ship, like, that's not going to last.
No. So, you know, before you were showing the different, you know, the red and blue castles, I have one hugely important question that I have to ask you.
Sure.
Red knights or blue knights? Which side are you on?
So I guess, I mean, maybe to pick a silly answer, the red and the blue. So in England, we had these wars of the roses where half of the country were the red rose of Lancaster and the white rose of York. And we fought for, goodness, it must have been about a generation. And in the end, we killed all of the heirs to the throne on both sides. It was rough. So what was left of the two families then married out of the ruins, and that they became the Tudors. And the symbol of the Tudors is the white and red, the rose with the mixed petals. And I think there's something really nice again about that, which is that heraldry, all of the colors in a castle probably are telling a story if you could work out how to read it. And I think one of the really sweet things about this little Lego shield that they came out with was that, you know, even if it's not deliberately trying to say something about the red and blue knights, but by using those sort of visual devices, it leaves the doorway open for that kind of beauty.
Yeah. You know, it's it makes you wonder if it was intentional or by accident, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question for you. What program do you use to do your designs?
Stud.io.
Oh.
So this is the one that people on Bricklink mainly use. So I was a LDD person for a very long time, and I slowly kept coming across Stud.io pictures, and they were just so much better than anything that I had made. And then I tried it, and it was hard to get used to, but it became something that was incredibly familiar and incredibly, like riding a bike, I guess, incredibly nice to use eventually.
I used their beta program. I don't know what it was called. I don't remember. I'll have to look it up. But I did a few things on their beta one before they came out with the big launch one, before all this ideas stuff came out.
Oh, wow. So
I wish I could remember what it was called, but it was on my old computer, so I don't even think I can look it up.
She's the mocker of the two of us.
That's very cool. So just in response to your world building comment, that was something that I really loved about the old Lego catalogs, was that they'd set out, you'd see all of the pirate ships together and they're interacting in some meaningful way. And then you'd have the little pictures in the sides that, tell you what the individual sets for. I was surprisingly sad when I recently got a Lego catalog and that there wasn't a single display like that showing everyone, having fun together.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still love the Lego images that they released on boxes and stuff, but I understand what you're saying as far as the catalog goes. They used to be a little bit more magical, if we're honest. But the box art and stuff, I mean, I don't know how well you can see, but we actually just nail them to our walls because what do you do with all the Lego boxes? I can't in good faith throw them away.
Yeah,
so pretty.
I could put 4 holes and then flatten them out, put 4 holes, and use them as decoration. So
that's wonderful. That's very sensible too. Yeah, that's very cool. I think one of the things that I really struggled with my project was trying to, because I put all of the effort into sort of the modularity and the playability, and then I hadn't really thought about this needs to be something that you can put on a box that looks lovely on a box. Bizarrely, it took me I don't know, months and months and months to get to the point that I had a single image that was a sort of definitive box art image. So yeah, I felt quite silly about that.
But I'll say that I think that image there, that would look great on a box.
Because especially with that griffin.
I don't have the newest Creator 3-in-1 set that they've released, castle set, but after that I have all pretty much every castle stuff that they've released the last 10, 15 years.
I know.
I have the red castle, the blue castle. So I look at your design and I can see how it's more advanced and more thought out than even the official Lego castles that have been released the last handful of years.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you. Can I just take you on a little diversion? So this is one of the fun things that's happened. Or actually, I mean, maybe a good way of telling the story is to start with this castle. So it was staring at views from of Windsor Castle that I sort of realized that I loved square towers and that I needed some square towers in the set. So you can't really see the niceness of these towers from, I mean, maybe they still look nice from this angle, and there are lovely square towers here, but Windsor has this lovely kind of mixture of interesting shapes that make up all of the defenses. So that made me think about how would you make a couple of towers that would fit in nicely into this castle and use a low piece count, but at the same time give you all of the same modularity that you had otherwise. And eventually I solved that problem, but when I solved that problem, it meant that I could do things that I had been wanting to do for ages. So this is a toy version which is genuinely achievable for a child to make of Bodium Castle. So Bodium Castle,
look at that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
like it's one of the nicest castles visually, I think, anywhere. It's I'm just trying to. I've obviously not selected a top-down view of it, but it's this beautiful, super symmetrical square castle. So it's built with this huge lake/moat around it. So they knew that they could basically make the ground underneath it any shape that they want, and they had sort of no other restrictions from like a cliff or a mountain or a landscape around them. So they were able to make this lovely symmetry to it, and it made me really excited when I realized. Look,
I think you achieved it, man.
That's
I really
awesome.
do.
I love it.
I mean, it's almost. I mean, obviously the other one's real and it's brown, and this one's blue and gray. But I mean, the shape is there, the feel is there. Absolutely.
Thank you. So I'm excited about this as a toy. So this is Bodium was built late enough that cannons were a serious problem. So instead of having a big tall keep that cannons could knock down, they built a long low one, and that's that represented there. And I realized that it was actually, again, and you see this on the boxes for the modular builds from time to time. They show you, look, here is how you can combine this block of flats with itself to make a super block of flats. So this sort of shows you what the version of Bodium you can make with a few sets of this Lego Idealist Castle, and you can really get to the point where it sort of has most of the realism sort of grounding you. That it's very funny describing it as a mock variant of my own set, but that's sort of what it is. So this is it's using all of the pieces that came out of the set and then multiplying that a few times, and because you have all of the essential the colors on the palette for castles, or all of the cards in the deck for the game, you're now able to build these very, very realistic historical castles. And like that's never been something that you could really do as a child, as someone who plays with Lego before. It was always a case that you could buy the Black Knight's Castle and it would be the Black Knight's Castle, and if you wanted Windsor Castle, well, you probably can't do that unless you have a million pieces. But this sort of gives you a nice way of creating various scales of realism for real castles around the world.
That's how many sets do you think that you would have to get to make that?
I thought you said two.
Two.
So the smallest version of Bodium, you could nearly do with one. The biggest version of Bodium, you probably want three. But like, there's always Bricklink.
Yes, there's always Bricklink.
So like if you're short by a couple of these grey bricks, you can solve that problem without buying another huge castle.
Yeah. You got me rethinking my red castle over there. I don't have anything on the sides to protect my second door.
So sorry, this is something maybe I haven't even shown photos of. I guess this sort of expresses it well, but such a real historical thing is having a doorway that leads to a doorway that leads to a doorway.
I'll have to remember that.
Yeah.
I'm checking out my castle back there, and I'm like, I have two doorways, but I had nothing on the sides that can come right around it.
Oh my goodness! The Vikings will get you for sure.
Well, what we did, we have the King's Jousting set that was released with the big
towers. I love that.
And then we put the red castle that came out after it. We combined them into two one big castle. But yeah, after watching yours, and the
like, I need
Vikings
to
just run
beef
right
mine
in.
up.
Oh my goodness.
we should make a video or a stop motion or something where the Vikings are attacking it.
Yeah, our blue one is actually quite a bit
Yeah.
bigger than our red one. That was the released in 2015, I want to say, somewhere around there, and we got them all on clearance, and they released the Gatehouse raid. And as you were talking about the Gatehouses, I kept thinking about that Gatehouse raid set in my head, and I think we bought like
3 or 4.
No, I'm saying 6, maybe 10 of them, just to keep
Really?
making our castle bigger and bigger and bigger.
And that's so cool. So I'm just bringing.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, that's a really nice little one. That's so cool. Thank you so much for having me.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much for coming.
And we'll definitely bring you on again. And everybody out there, go support his Lego Ideas Castle. It's absolutely brilliant, as you've seen here today. And check out Sir Legolot on Facebook. I know he has his own page and everything set up there. And we will definitely be having you in again on the future. Absolutely.
We'll put the links in the description.
We'll put the links in the description. All the whole 9 yards. And thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day.
And we're back live now. So thanks again to Sir Legolot for the fantastic interview. We learned so much in that interview, not just about Lego, but about castles in general. And that's what, like Papa Brad's here. I learned a lot about castles. I did as well. Stuff like, it was mind blowing. And thanks, Papa Brad. Great show. And nice to see you here, Zusu. I hope I'm saying that, formerly Grogon.
Hi.
And we had Dr. Xander also. And so we were talking about our castles earlier in the show. And so that interview with Sir Legolot inspired us so much that we actually went through, she did. Let's give credit where credit is due.
I couldn't wait to get my hands on the red castle.
And so she already went through and made some changes, and let's take a look at them real quick.
Yeah, see, I beefed up the sides right there. It's it looks so much better now. Now, once they get through, I have to put doors on the front because they're not done yet. But once they get through those doors, then we can shoot them with arrows and throw rocks at them, and they can't get through our second doors.
Yeah, because that's one of the big things we learned is they have to have that. And our Black Monarchs Castle, we're actually doing some changes to that as well. Not to the main structure, because Black Monarchs Castle is such a classic set. But we're actually, instead of going, because the Knight Stronghold.
No, I am going to do the Stronghold.
No, the Knight Stronghold that goes with it, instead of going and buying the official one, we're just going to bricklink some pieces and put our own Knight Stronghold out in front of there. And
I'm excited to do that.
Zisu. Okay.
Zisu, sorry.
Well, thank you,
Hi,
sir.
Zisu.
Hi, Zisu. And now, everybody, it is time for Guess That Minifigure. So it's going to be fastest fingers. Whoever gets the answer in the chat is going to win this minifigure. So let's go.
Time for another exciting episode of Guess That Lego Figure, where it's up to you to decide which Lego figure we got for you today. With all the Lego figures out here that we got under one roof, we're going to leave it up to you to decide which one it's going to be. And if you can guess who it is, we will send you a terrific prize. So let's see which one it's going to be today.
And here it is. It was the same one from last week, everyone. So until someone guesses who this minifigure is, it's not going away. So does
anybody know?
Anyone out there, can you guess this Lego minifigure? If I don't get it in the chat, first one in the comment section or hits me up on Facebook, however you get it to me, the first one who can identify this Lego minifigure, I will send him to you. So if you want him, you got to tell me who it is. And he's going to be here next week again until someone can guess this minifigure. We don't have any comments in the chat.
We got no
one's
knows.
on it. Oh, because I threw everyone a curveball. He's definitely not an old school kind of guy. He's a little bit more of a newer one. It's a little bit of a hint there. Well, again, if anyone gets the answer in the comment section after the video, or just whoever is able to correctly name this minifigure will win it. But that is, we have a comment.
Ooh.
Whitebeard Sensei, close, but that is incorrect, sir.
Ooh.
But you are definitely on the right track. Oh, we got another one. There's a big YouTuber that focuses on medieval topics. He has a few really great videos about castle structures. Channel is Shadversity.
Oh, we'll have to check him out.
I'll
Thanks.
have to check him out. Yes, thank you, Zissou. So, unless we get any answers, I think that is just about it for today's show. It was a long one. We've already reached an hour and a half. So, again, please like, comment, and subscribe. Go vote for Sir Legolot's ideas submission. Again, the link is in the description. And, we got a few more guesses here. Your cat. It is Woo. Papa Bread.
Good job.
Good.
Squeaked right in.
You did. Papa Bread, second time winner here.
Yeah, 2-time winner.
Yeah, and I know what he's going to do with it. He's probably going to be donating to one of his students in his school, or maybe one of his grandkids will get it. So that's fantastic.
We already got your information. We'll send it to you.
We'll send it to you, sir. But again, like, comment, and subscribe. And that is the show for today. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week on the Brick Chat.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, we got the iiRcadians merch store. If you want to take a little piece of the show with you, you can get it right here. We got everything. You want some Mikey J stuff? We got the MikeyJProductions for you. We got it all in the iiRcadians shop. So take a chance and stop by. We'll take care of you.